Have you ever been relaxing in bed, maybe reading or watching TV, when suddenly, bam, your leg or foot cramps up out of nowhere? You know that feeling, the one that has you jumping out of bed at 2 a.m., desperately trying to stretch it out. Pretty much everyone thinks it's just one of those annoying things that happens. But what if I told you your body is actually trying to send you an important message? One that 7 out of 10 people completely miss? Those muscle cramps? They're just the beginning. Your body has 11 other weird ways of telling you it needs more potassium. And trust me, number 8 on this list shocked even my doctor. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what signs to look for, why they matter, and what you can do about them. Because once you know these signals, you'll never look at that banana in your kitchen the same way again. Before we jump into these 12 potassium signals, let me ask you something. Have you been feeling kind of off lately, but can't quite put your finger on why? Maybe you're more tired than usual, or things just don't feel quite right. Well, you're not alone. You see, your body is pretty amazing at telling you when something's not quite right. It's like having your own personal warning system. The problem is, most of us have never learned how to understand what it's trying to say. When someone's body needs more potassium, it doesn't just give you 1 or 2 hints. It actually sends you 12 different signals. But here's the crazy part. Most people, and even some doctors, miss these signs completely. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what these signals are, why they matter, and most importantly, what to do about them. And I promise you, these aren't just the usual eat a banana tips you've heard before. These are the real, science-backed signals that nobody talks about. And stick around for signal number 8. It's something I discovered during my own health journey, and it completely changed how I look at potassium deficiency. It's so surprising that when I told my doctor about it, even he had to double-check his medical books. So grab a pen and paper, because you're going to want to write these down. Trust me, what you learn in the next few minutes might just explain those weird symptoms you've been having. Alright, let's start with the first 3 signals your body sends when it needs more potassium. And we're going to begin with something you might have experienced just last night. Signal number 1, those nighttime muscle cramps. You know those painful muscle cramps that wake you up in the middle of the night? The ones that have you doing that weird dance at 2 a.m., trying to stretch out your calf muscle? Well, here's something most people don't know. If these cramps keep happening, especially at night, it might not just be because you exercise too hard. When your body's low on potassium, it's harder for your muscles to relax properly. Think of potassium like your muscles' favorite bedtime story. Without it, they get cranky and don't want to rest. The big clue here is when these cramps keep showing up, especially in your calves, feet, or toes, even when you haven't been exercising much. Signal number 2, those random muscle twitches. Ever been sitting quietly and noticed your eyelid doing a little dance? Or maybe your thumb starts twitching out of nowhere? Most people just laugh these off, but hold on. This might be your body trying to tell you something important. These little twitches, doctors call them fasciculations, fancy word, right? Often show up when your potassium levels aren't quite right. It's like your muscles are sending you little Morse code messages saying, "Hey, we need some help down here." Signal number 3, that weird weakness that comes and goes. Now this one's tricky because it's not like the tired feeling you get after a busy day. This is different. We're talking about times when your arms feel heavy while doing simple things like washing your hair, or when your legs feel a bit shaky going upstairs, even if you're in pretty good shape. The really interesting part? This weakness often shows up in the same places where you get those twitches we just talked about. It's like your body's giving you a 1-2 punch of signals. But here's something really cool, and I can't wait to share this with you. These muscle signals are just the beginning. Wait until you hear how your digestive system might be sending you secret messages about your potassium levels. That's coming up next, and trust me, signal number 4 is going to surprise you. Quick tip before we move on. If you're experiencing any of these first 3 signals, start keeping a quick note on your phone about when they happen. This will be super helpful when we get to the solution part later in the video. Now, let's talk about something really interesting. How your digestive system might be waving red flags about potassium. And trust me, these next 3 signals are probably not what you're expecting. Signal number 4, the bloating mystery. Ever notice how some days you feel more bloated than others, even when you're eating the same foods? Here's something wild. It might not be the food that's the problem at all. When your potassium is low, your whole digestive system gets a bit confused. It's like having a traffic jam in your gut. Here's what makes this really interesting. This type of bloating often shows up right after eating salty foods. Why? Because your body needs potassium and sodium to work together, like best friends. When one's out of balance, the other one can't do its job properly. So if you're getting bloated after salty snacks more than usual, your body might be trying to tell you something. Signal number 5, those weird cravings. Okay, this one's kind of funny. Have you been craving salty foods like crazy lately? Maybe you've caught yourself wanting to eat pickles straight from the jar or adding extra salt to everything. Plot twist. This might actually be your body's backwards way of asking for potassium. I know it sounds weird, but here's why this happens. Your body knows that sodium and potassium work as a team. Sometimes, when it needs potassium, it makes you crave sodium instead. It's like your body's playing a game of charades with you. Pretty sneaky, right? Signal number 6, when your digestive rhythm changes. Let's talk about something nobody likes to discuss, but everyone needs to know. If your bathroom habits have changed recently, maybe things are moving too slow or too fast. This could be another potassium signal. Think of your digestive system like a smooth-running conveyor belt. Potassium helps keep everything moving at just the right speed. When you don't have enough, that conveyor belt either goes into slow motion or starts running way too fast. And the really tricky part? Most people never connect these changes to potassium. Now, here's where things get really interesting. All these digestive signals are actually connected to your heart in a way that's going to blow your mind. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about next. Alright, now we're getting to the really important stuff. How your heart and energy levels might be sending you messages about potassium. And remember that shocking signal number 8 I mentioned earlier. Well, here it comes. Signal number 7. When your heart does its own dance. First, let's talk about something that might sound a bit scary, but is really important to know about. Have you ever felt like your heart is doing a little flutter in your chest? Like it's skipping a beat or playing its own rhythm? Now, don't panic. Sometimes this is totally normal. But here's what most people don't know. If you're feeling these little heart hiccups along with any of the signals we talked about earlier, it might be your body's way of saying, hey, I need some potassium down here. Think of potassium like your heart's favorite music conductor. Without enough of it, your heart might start playing slightly off beat. It's not usually dangerous, but it's definitely something worth paying attention to. Signal number 8, the breathing connection. This is the shocking one I promised you about. Ready for this? Here's something that blew my doctor's mind, and it might surprise you too. Have you ever noticed that you're slightly out of breath doing something that used to be easy, like maybe going upstairs or carrying groceries? Most people blame it on being out of shape, but check this out. Potassium actually helps your lungs inflate and deflate properly. I know, wild, right? When your potassium is low, your breathing muscles have to work harder. Kind of like trying to blow up a thick balloon instead of a normal one. And the crazy part? Almost nobody connects their breathing to potassium levels. Signal number 9, the energy roller coaster. This one's really interesting because it's not just about feeling tired. We're talking about energy levels that go up and down like a roller coaster throughout the day. Maybe you're super energetic in the morning, then crash hard by lunch, even if you got plenty of sleep. Here's what's happening. Potassium helps your cells make energy. When your levels are low, your cells are like phones trying to run on low battery mode. They work for a while, then suddenly need a recharge. The really fascinating part? These energy dips often happen at specific times of day. If you're constantly feeling that afternoon slump around 2 or 3 p.m., even after a good lunch, this might be your body waving a big potassium flag. But wait, because this next part is where everything starts to connect together. Those last 3 signals we're about to talk about, they're the ones that tie all of this together, and they're going to make you look at your daily habits in a completely different way. Now, we're reaching the part that really connects all the dots, our final 3 signals. And honestly, these are the ones that people almost never connect to potassium, but they're super important. Signal number 10, the mood mystery. Have you been feeling a bit more irritable lately? Maybe small things are bothering you more than usual? Well, guess what? Your mood swings might actually be your body's way of asking for potassium. Here's something cool. Potassium helps your brain communicate with the rest of your body. When you're running low, it's like trying to text someone with bad cell service. The messages get jumbled. This is why you might feel more cranky, anxious, or just off some days. The really interesting part? These mood changes often happen at the same time as those muscle twitches we talked about earlier. It's like your body's giving you two hints at once. Signal number 11, the blood pressure puzzle. Now, this one's super sneaky because you might not notice it on your own, but if you've been checking your blood pressure, maybe at those pharmacy machines or at home, and the numbers keep doing a little dance, going up and down more than usual, this could be another potassium signal. Think of your blood vessels like a garden hose. Potassium helps them squeeze and relax at just the right times to keep your blood pressure steady. Without enough potassium, it's like someone's randomly squeezing and releasing that hose. Signal number 12, the sleep situation. Last but definitely not least, let's talk about your sleep. Have you noticed that even when you sleep for a full 8 hours, you still wake up feeling tired? Or maybe you keep waking up at weird times during the night. Here's the thing, most people don't know. Potassium helps your body maintain its natural sleep-wake rhythm. When your levels are low, it's like your body's internal clock is running on the wrong time zone. And the really wild part? This sleep disruption often happens around the same time as those nighttime leg cramps we talked about at the beginning. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced any of these signals before? If so, comment below. If you found this video helpful, tap that thumbs up button. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.